Hi everybody, today I'm going to be painting a tree. This tree, from a photograph. The biggest mistake I see people making when they're painting trees is that they get bogged down in detail straight away. You need to concentrate on the primary and secondary shapes within the tree. This area is the primary shapes, and these smaller areas the secondary shapes. You see, each picture of a tree has got to be a portrait of the tree. So you have to get the structure right in the first place. Just like with a portrait, if you don't get the general shapes right, you're never going to get the portrait right. There's no point fiddling about with eyelashes and nostrils, and it's never going to be right if you haven't got the general shape right. And it's exactly the same when you're painting anything else, including trees in a landscape. So we'll start with the basic structure. In fact, if you can, try to put out of your mind that it's a tree at all. Think of it simply in terms of its shape. Just forget about leaves and branches for the time being. You can get involved in all that kind of thing later on. Okay, so that's basically the shape of the tree. That's the primary shape. Within that, there are all kinds of secondary shapes which are within this structure here. Obviously I wouldn't be painting these under normal circumstances, just for demonstration purposes. And then behind the tree we've got the field coming in here and further trees in the background. I'm going to make those slightly bigger and lead them into here. The next thing to do is establish the light source, and we know that there's a shadow under the tree here. It's quite an angle actually. So the light is coming in from this side. So I'm just now establishing where the dark is, and that if the light's coming in from this side, that's where the dark is going to be, over this side of the tree. Also, these separate areas are going to have their own darks. When it comes to the sky, looking through the tree at the sky, we can put that in later. What we don't want to do is paint the sky and then paint the tree on top of it. The sky has to be a part of the whole thing. They're made of the same stuff. So that's got the basic shape kind of knocked in there, and now we need to think about, well, we'll call them the background trees, perhaps the sky. So what I've been using here is French ultramarine and mostly cadmium yellow. So both of those are on the warm side of the spectrum. So within each hue or colour, they can tend towards the green side of the spectrum, the cool side, or the red side of the perspective, the warm side. That's true of blues, yellows, red. So French ultramarine, for instance, tends towards the red side and is a warm blue, whereas cobalt blue tends towards the green side and is a cool blue. Lemon yellow, cool. Cadmium yellow is a warm yellow. So we're going to use those to create depth in this picture. So if you're getting benefit out of this video, please subscribe to my channel. It helps the channel grow, and you can get notifications when I upload new videos. And it's free. So you see how that is much cooler and it starts to drop back a little bit. We can exaggerate this if we want to and make it a little bit bluer. Now I'm going to make this darker underneath. In order to do that, I'm going to add some red to it, but again it needs to be a cool red. So I'm going to be using alizarin crimson. So these trees over here are in the far distance, and I'm going to exaggerate the blueness even more. When you're working from photographs, as I am here, they tend to flatten the surface. We lose distance. The subtleties of tonality and the warms and cools get homogenized. It all becomes one. We need to exaggerate the aerial perspective to push things back and bring things forward. So that's what I'm doing now. Notice also that I'm not dabbing away at this to try and make an appearance of leaves. It doesn't work. It'll give you a really amateurish look, and we need to be able to put the paint on and just leave it there. Right, I'm going to put the field in. We already know that the light is coming down from the sky. The sky is almost invariably the lightest thing that you're going to have to work with. And then after that, horizontal planes, they're catching the light full on. Things that are vertical don't catch the light as the horizontals. And at the same time, I'm going to have to push away the far distance and pull the foreground out. So I'm going to be using cooler colours over here in the distance and then warm them as they come forward. I'm just using lemon yellow with a touch of titanium white in it and the tiniest bit of cobalt blue. As we come forward, I'm just warming it ever so slightly, add a little bit more blue into it. And breaking up the edges of the tree as I go. I don't want that to come down as far as that actually, so I'm going to just paint over the top of it. Add a little bit more cadmium yellow. I've added a little bit of chrome orange into this now to warm it, bring it forward. Yeah, I'm just going to restate this. I want this to be as bright as I can get it. And see how the tree is really coming forward of that. It really does work. We're using this the cooler colours in the background and the warm in the foreground. With that little bit of white doing its job, pushing this landscape away. The blue I'm using is ultramarine because I want that warm summery feel to it. The tree's in full leaf. In these areas and the bottom area of the clouds, I'm just going to add a little bit of permanent mauve in there. Just give it that nice shadow effect on the clouds. So in the areas between the branches and leaves in the tree, you can put some sky into there. Just make sure that your brush is clean when you do this, so that there's a really sharp view through to the sky. It also breaks up the edge of the tree quite nicely. So I don't like that bit there. I think it's going to be, it's too low. Now the painting process is always a push and pull between the lights and the darks and how you move the paint around. So I now want to add some more of the shadow back into the picture to give it a more complex feel. And as we see through the tree into the depths of it and into the shadow, we can actually see through it there. Okay, so now finally you can, and I say finally because I don't want to faff around with this, I don't want to overwork it and mess with it. You can add some You can add some really highlighted areas to it, maybe just here and there where the light's really catching. There is also a tiny amount of light just filtering through the trees onto the trunk of the tree there. So I'm just going to suggest that. Now you can go on and add detail to this tree if you want to, but I really don't think it's necessary. I think this pretty much says what you want to say about a tree. So that's it. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, click the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.